Oh, sorry. Have the Cleveland Browns signed the quarterback yet? Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here, then please do me a favour and hit that subscribe button. Any of my subscribers will probably recognise that this is a different background. That is because I have finally moved. It was a bit of a pain logging all my furniture up 6 flights of stairs, but we got there in the end. I do apologise for the lack of videos the last few days. That is why I have been moving, trying to get unpacked. Doing this on the fly. I've not even got anywhere to put my microphone, and you might notice that the video quality is a little bit worse than it normally is because I've not actually unpacked my camera to do the filming on. But I just wanted to do a quick video, kind of update, on the Browns free agency. I say update, there's not really any updates, but just kind of talk about what has happened as well as some other stuff around the league. I'll get straight into it. As I said, not much has happened with the Cleveland Browns. I expected I thought there would be quite a lot this past weekend, given that it was the weekend I was moving and would be without internet, be without my camera and all of this stuff. But thankfully, nothing happened. So we're still kind of waiting to see what the Browns are going to do, obviously, especially at quarterback. We've had some news, Russell Wilson came in for a visit, the Russell Wilson. Kirk Cousins, the Falcons have decided to actually pay his $10 million bonus because they want someone to trade for their $180 million mistake. I'll be honest, the GM over there in Atlanta is really bad. It's just awful management, and now they're just burning money to save face. It's not a good look. They made the deal last off-season. They then obviously drafted Penix. That was a head scratcher. Why give Kirk Cousins $180 million if you were going to draft Penix at 8th overall? And now they seem kind of hell bent on not looking as stupid as they do. By trying to hang on to Kirk and get a 5th round pick for him and go, oh wow, look how good we are. As I said, it's really bad management over there in Atlanta. Terry Footnote? He's not very good, and I say this from as my opinion, and from what I've had conversations with people a lot smarter than me when it comes to GMs, roster building, cap management, all of that good stuff, and they all agree with me. I don't think he's a very good GM, and this kind of just proves that. But as I said, Russell Wilson came in on a visit as well. Myles Garrett was there to recruit, I assume, try and do the sales pitch to get Russell Wilson here. Did it work? Well, he left without a deal. He is obviously scheduled to visit a few other teams, the Giants included. So we will see. I think at this point, it is probably between him and Kirk Cousins. I've said all off-season that I think it's Kirk Cousins. I think that's what the Browns will do, and it's probably what I would do. But to be honest, I made a joke on my socials when the Russ news came out that I was going on a spiritual retreat to try and convince myself that it could work. That spiritual retreat was moving myself up 6 flights of stairs, and I think it could work. I don't know. It's one of them. I've been calling Russ washed for 2 years now, partly because I was a little bit salty that he didn't come to the Browns in 2022. That's who I wanted, cats out of the bag. That offseason, it was Russell Wilson for me. Little backstory, first Super Bowl I ever watched was Seattle versus Denver. If I wasn't a Browns fan, I probably would be a Seahawks fan. Russell Wilson was one of my favourite quarterbacks of all time. But I've spent the last 2 years calling him washed. So it would be quite silly of me to say, oh, it's going to be amazing, he's going to lead us to a Super Bowl. Of course, I don't think that. But I think the Browns could do worse. And I think that Kirk Cousins and Russell Wilson, similar but not similar. I think they can both run Kevin Stefanski's offense well. Probably better than any of the other guys out there. I mean, you could argue Joe Flacco, but the guy is 65 years old now. There was a lot of interceptions the first go around, and that was 2 years ago. He didn't look very good last year in Indy. I'll be honest, I'm not interested. So for me, as I said, I think it comes down to Russ and Kirk. The Browns are clearly waiting to obviously hear from Russ or to hear from the Falcons about what the hell they're doing with Kirk Cousins. As I said, they paid his $10 million roster bonus just because they're too embarrassed to cut him. Awful management, but we'll see what kind of happens. As I said, there are some other guys out there as well. Aaron Rodgers, Jameis Winston, and as mentioned, Flacco. For me, if I had to pick one of those three, it would be Jameis. But as I said, we'll have to wait and see. There's been no movement. There's not really been any indication of any movement. For me, I think it's probably between Russ and Kirk. But, the Browns did drop a little teaser after the Myles Garrett press conference of, him talking about becoming what was at the time the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. They did a little media clip for the socials where Myles is basically saying that he knows who the quarterback's going to be. And they played along with it on the Browns socials and posted it like, oh, Myles knows. I feel like they wouldn't have posted that if they had no idea what they were doing at quarterback or were still waiting to, hear what team or what guy is willing to come or willing to trade. So I think they have an idea. It's just finding it out. So as I said, we'll have to wait and see. I really thought it would happen over the past weekend, but it didn't. I'm happy because if it does happen now, I actually have the resources to get on here and talk about, hopefully with a bit better camera quality as well. But as I said, we will see. Some other news around the NFL. The Bengals re-signed Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Jamar Chase gets 4 years, 161 million, with 112 million guaranteed, and Higgins gets 4 years, 115 million, with around 60 million guaranteed. It's the first 2 years of the contract that are guaranteed. Chase, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, he now is the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history, and T. Higgins is the highest number 2 wide receiver in NFL history, which, to be honest, only a few years ago would have been the highest wide receiver 1 in NFL history. It's a lot of money. Good for them. I am genuinely surprised that Mike Brown actually reached into his pockets and spent some money. So good for them. Good for the Bengals fans. I know that's what they wanted. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins are certainly a fun trio to watch. But they are now paying, Burrow and 2 receivers around 125 million a year. Their defense was pretty bad last year. They're probably going to lose some more guys, maybe Hendrickson. Their defense might be Swiss cheese next year. They will have to hit in the draft because they will need to get cheaper everywhere else with how much money they are paying these 3 guys. We'll see if it works. You look at Miami, they paid Tua, they paid Tyreek Hill, and they paid Jalen Waddle. They went down the route of paying the quarterback and his 2 weapons, and it has gotten them nowhere. If anything, they've only gone backwards since they made those deals. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with the Bengals. Can they actually fill out the rest of the roster? Who knows? But, to their defense, which feels disgusting to say, when you got Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, you're in a game because they can go and score at any point. As I said, quite surprised by it, but good for them, I suppose. Mike Brown finally spending some money, and Myles Garrett's title as most paid and biggest contract non-quarterback in NFL history, lasted about 3 days, and it is now Jamar Chase. Wide receivers on over 40 million a year. It's a crazy world, guys. It's a crazy world. And speaking of wide receivers on 40 million a year, we now have cornerbacks on 30 million a year. Derek Stingley gets the bag. 3 years, 90 million, with 89 million guaranteed. They just really didn't want to join the Browns in the fully guaranteed contract club. But 30 million a year for a corner, as I mentioned, absolutely smashes the record of 25 million a year, which was just set last week by Panthers' J.C. Horn. You know, at this point, it does feel like a lifetime ago that Denzel became the highest paid corner in NFL history. And now Derek Stingley is getting 10 million a year more than Denzel Ward. I mean, to be honest, I don't quite know how we've gotten to a point where Denzel Ward is underrated. I've seen a lot of comments, you know, about Denzel to do with this contract, and I just don't get it. Denzel Ward is so fucking good. I'm so happy he's a Brown. He's one of the best corners in the league. Will he now ask for, you know, the most money from a corner ever? I doubt it. He probably wants a pay rise, don't get me wrong, but it's quite rare that players, you know, hold that title twice if they're not a quarterback. So while he might, I mean, he's got 2 years left on his deal, he's more than handsomely paid. So while he might want a slight pay rise seeing these other corners go up, I don't think Denzel Ward, you know, when his contract ends at 31 years old, is going to be asking, you know, to be made the highest paid corner in NFL history at that point. But regarding to Derek Stingley, great for him. I mean, what a player. If there is a corner in this league better than Denzel Ward, the only two guys I would even argue would be Derek Stingley and Pat Surtain. So well-deserved for him, definitely. It's good to see cornerbacks, you know, get rewarded. This is a position that has been severely underpaid in the NFL the last few years, while other positions have skyrocketed, you know, in their contract values, i.e. wide receiver, pass rushers, and obviously quarterbacks. The cornerbacks have kind of been behind a little bit. So it's good to see that in the last few weeks that, you know, these corners are getting rewarded as they deserve. It's one of the hardest positions in football. It's one of the most volatile positions in football. So they deserve to be paid, you know, like these other guys. And I'm happy that, you know, GMs and teams are starting to do so. But that's everything. As I said, there's not really that much. It's quite surprising how quiet it is in the NFL right now. I suppose it is kind of following suit. You do always seem to get, you know, an explosion of deals at the very start of free agency. Then it kind of cools off a little bit before it picks back up again. The Browns aren't really doing much at the moment, but that, you know, no one it really is. It's not that everyone else is signing people and the Browns aren't. It's just, you know, a lot of the big ones got out of the way early, and now it's kind of the waiting game, especially on these quarterbacks, because you've got about 4 teams that are waiting for Aaron Rodgers to make a decision on what he's going to do before they actually go forward with their plans. I'm glad the Browns aren't involved in that. I hope the Browns aren't involved in that, because if that's what they're doing, then I will come on here and scold them for it. But as I said, that would do it for me today. Just wanted to hop on, do a quick one, seeing as I haven't done a video in quite a few days now. As I said, I've been moving, getting everything over to my new place. I'm still having to hold my microphone. I still haven't got my proper camera out yet. But we're here. We're going to talk Browns no matter what. So that will do it for me today, guys. If you do enjoy my content, then please drop this video a like, hit the subscribe button. It's free, but it really, really helps out my channel. You can also check the links in the description to see where you can follow and interact with me on social media. As I always say, I'm trying to build a community of Cleveland Browns fans, and even if I only get to talk to one fan a day, I'm happy, because I'm talking Browns football with the best fan base in the world. Thanks again for watching, guys. I hope you all have an amazing rest of the week. Fingers crossed for some good Browns news. And most importantly, go Browns.